Motoring organisations, both the RAC and the AA, predicting today is going to be the busiest day on the roads. The start of the Great Getaway. So the AA is saying a record 23.7 million journeys made today, and they have put out an amber traffic warning.
It's known as Mad Friday. But just how bad are the roads on the last Friday before Christmas? Let's discuss it. One trucker's eye. In today's video, I thought I'd try something a little bit different. Mad Friday is the busiest day on the roads every single year. This year, I have a particularly busy day ahead of me with 350 miles to cover, 2 deliveries to make and 1 collection. Currently, we are on the A34, just near to Swindon, and about to head eastbound on the M4 for our first delivery, which is at 4 AM in a place called Basingstoke. As you've just seen, we have started work just prior to 2:30 AM. We've just had the minimum 9 hours rest period, and we need to get going to make our first delivery on time. First things first though, much needed coffee. So once we've got our coffee, we make the short journey and take the exit at the Crawley roundabout. We featured this roundabout in a recent video, and I'll put a little card in the top corner so you can watch that video after you've watched this one. At this time in the morning, you're not likely to find much traffic, but you are guaranteed to catch every single set of traffic lights on a red light. It's also an absolute stonewall certainty that you won't see any other traffic at the junction that you're waiting for. Just watch how long it takes these traffic lights to change at 3 o'clock in the morning. Finally, and if you haven't already fell asleep at the wheel whilst waiting for the traffic lights to change, you can continue your journey. As we head through the centre of Newbury, this theme continues. Yet another red light, and absolutely nothing coming from any other direction. Eventually though, we find ourselves coming off for the junction that we need in Basingstoke. What I do want to ask you at this point, what would you do in this situation? We're coming up to a set of traffic lights which is run by pressure pads. They detect the traffic as you make your way towards the traffic lights and determine the traffic levels and whether they should change to green. But these don't. But the question is, how long do you give it? How long would you wait here before making the decision to go through the red lights? Reversing is clearly not an option as you're going against the grain of any traffic that might come behind you. But you can't sit here waiting indefinitely for traffic lights that are not going to change. At this point, I think it's clearly obvious that the lights are now stuck on red, so we need to make a decision. So with a great amount of care, off we go. Why these roundabouts with traffic lights need to have the traffic lights working in the dead of night, I will never know. But it's now 4 AM, we'll get the delivery done and we'll rejoin you back on the M3 very shortly. So once the delivery is done, we make our way onto the M3, then onto the M25, and as you can see, traffic is now starting to build up a little bit more than what it was at 3 o'clock this morning. We continue on our way to Crawley, which is near Gatwick Airport, by taking the M23 southbound from the M25. Once we arrive at our collection point, you'll notice that the yard is quite tight, but the space is there to make the reversing quite easy. It's here that we load a load of ice for a major supermarket chain in Wakefield. This place is actually run brilliantly. It is one of my favourite collection points in the UK. The guys are all spot on and everything works like clockwork. Now that really is a lot of ice for a lot of Christmas beverages. It takes around 25 minutes to load the trailer, and in that time you can see that it has now become daylight. Time to get back on the road and see how Mad Friday is shaping up. As we leave Crawley, we'll take the M23 northbound and then onto the M25 around the west side of London. Surprisingly, as we pass the A3 where the major roadworks are taking place at the junction, there doesn't seem to be a lot of traffic, despite it now being close to 9 o'clock in the morning. This could just be a pointer that people are still at home, having started their Christmas holidays, and are ready to set off a little bit later in the day. The queue on the southbound side of the M25 seems to be a little bit heavier for the traffic coming off for that A3 junction. As you can see, DPD is above everybody else, and obviously doesn't need to wait with the queue. We'll come across some more of these morons a little bit later on the M1. But continuing up the west side of London and past Heathrow, we're still struggling to find any sort of traffic. Normally on any given Friday you'll be sitting in traffic for hours on end on this side of the M25. But this free-flowing traffic continued past the M40 and straight up and around onto the M1. It's now around 10:30 AM in the morning, and things should be starting to hot up very shortly indeed. So let's enjoy this free-flowing traffic while we can. We're now heading up towards Luton, and it's nice to see that the hard shoulder is open before any congestion starts. I am of course being sarcastic, and that's because National Highways in their infinite wisdom do have the hard shoulder open there just before junction 11, but look at this. Traffic is just starting to build up after junction 11. Unlike the section prior to junction 11, where they have the hard shoulder open, National Highways have decided that this hard shoulder section shall remain closed. So already they are making the traffic slow up. Now I know some of you may say that there has been an operational incident on the hard shoulder, but there wasn't, and neither was there on the next section either. And the next section wasn't open either. This is just incompetence from the National Highways people once again. No doubt they'll open it once all the traffic has backed up sufficiently for miles behind us. It was, however, time for another little break and another cup of coffee. So we're back on the M1, and strangely, the traffic is even more quieter than what it was before we went into the services. And then this strangely carried on. It carried on through Northamptonshire. And the clear roads continued through Warwickshire and Leicestershire. I was starting to think that I'd got the wrong day of the year. It was Friday, wasn't it? Yes. It was Mad Friday. Yes. So where's all the traffic? But was all that about to change as we got to Derbyshire? As any half-decent driver has worked out, there is a queue on the slip road. 99% of drivers have already fathomed this out and are in the correct lane for leaving the motorway. Sadly, there is that 1% of drivers that can't fathom out what is going on with the traffic. Either that, or they are too impatient to wait and must force their way in further down the queue. This causes absolute chaos for anybody else wanting to continue up the motorway and causes traffic jams. This kind of driving is not, however, limited solely to people in cars. In the distance, there is a green articulated lorry who is now trying to push his way into the traffic queue. And as we pass that green articulated truck, we have another one in a car in the Mercedes in front of us. But as Jimmy Cricket would say, there is more. And then it's just beyond this truck that you see another driver taking a pee break in the live lane on the motorway. As we pass underneath the roundabout, you'll notice some orange flashing lights. That was the cause of the delay getting off at the slip road. We were arriving in Wakefield. Unbelievably, we have travelled 350 miles on what is supposed to be the busiest road traffic day on the motorways in the UK. Now maybe I've just been lucky the whole day through. Apparently not. I take a look at Google Maps just to see where all the traffic is. I couldn't see any traffic jams anywhere. No traffic jams in the regular places such as the M5 onto the M6, around Manchester, the M25 especially, and all the other major routes were pretty much clear. Even truck drivers on a popular Facebook page seem bemused by the lack of traffic. So the question has to be, what just happened? Were people scaremongered into not using the roads today? I do have to say, I really enjoyed driving on this Mad Friday. Normally, every Mad Friday is 10 times more busy than it normally is, and today it was 10 times more quieter than a normal day. Once this supermarket had unloaded their delivery of ice, it was time for me to head back down the road and find somewhere to park. Even on a Friday night, you can find yourself struggling to find a space on the services, but not today. Still in disbelief, I decided to have another look at Google Maps just to check out what is happening around the areas like Manchester, London, and the other usual places where you'll find lots of traffic on a Friday. But there was nothing. Even the notorious M6 in Birmingham was deathly quiet. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up. Thank you very much to all my new subscribers and old subscribers alike. If you haven't subscribed, then please consider doing so. And I'll see you next time. One trucker's eye.